November 15th, 2025. The nation is holding its breath as a pivotal moment unfolds. All eyes are on Washington, D.C., where a historic legal battle is about to reach its climax. The Supreme Court is now at the very center of a national showdown over the Second Amendment, the constitutional right to keep and bear arms. The building stands as a symbol of justice, but today, it's also the stage for a fierce debate that has divided the country for decades. The Department of Justice and powerful gun rights advocates are locked in a high-stakes legal battle. The outcome could fundamentally redefine what it means to have the right to bear arms in America. Both sides are presenting arguments that could reshape the nation's understanding of freedom, safety, and responsibility. The court is taking on emergency cases with massive consequences for every American, regardless of where they live or what they believe. The justices know that their decision will echo through every state, every city, and every home. After its landmark 2022 Bruen decision, the justices set a new, stricter standard. Gun laws must align with the nation's historical tradition. This ruling has already upended how courts evaluate gun regulations, forcing lawmakers and judges to look to the past for guidance. Now, the court must clarify what that standard truly means for millions of gun owners and the complex web of laws that govern them. The stakes could not be higher. This decision will affect not only individual rights, but also public safety and the future of gun policy in America. The questions before the court are profound. Who can own a gun? What types of firearms are protected under the Constitution? How do these rights apply to different communities and situations? And perhaps most importantly, how far can states go to regulate firearms while still respecting constitutional rights? The answers will shape the nation's laws, its culture, and its sense of security for generations to come. For over 2 centuries, the Supreme Court mostly avoided the Second Amendment. The right to bear arms was seen as tied to state militias, not individuals. This allowed a patchwork of gun laws to develop, with little interference from the court. The justices were wary of the political fallout from taking a strong stance. As a result, the Second Amendment remained largely undefined, fueling legal confusion. Only in the 21st century, under pressure from conservatives and gun rights groups, did the court begin to address the issue. This slow shift set the stage for today's high-stakes legal battles. The breakthrough came in 2008 with District of Columbia v. Heller. For the first time, the court recognized an individual's right to own a handgun for self-defense at home. 2 years later, McDonald v. Chicago extended this right to the states. But the court left many questions unanswered, especially about carrying guns in public. For over a decade, the justices refused to clarify further, leaving lower courts divided. Deep internal disagreements among conservatives kept the Second Amendment in limbo. Only after the court's composition changed did the next major case emerge. In 2022, a landmark Supreme Court decision sent shockwaves through the legal and political landscape of America. The case, New York State Rifle and Pistol Association vs. Bruen, didn't just tweak the rules, it fundamentally changed the way courts must think about the Second Amendment and gun rights in the United States. The court struck down New York's strict law that required people to show a special need to carry a handgun in public. For the first time, the Supreme Court made it clear. The right to bear arms isn't just about keeping a gun at home for self-defense. It extends to carrying firearms in public spaces, reshaping the debate over gun control nationwide. But perhaps even more importantly, Bruen established a brand new test for evaluating gun laws. From now on, any restriction on firearms must be consistent with the nation's historical tradition of firearm regulation. In other words, if a law can't be traced back to the practices and beliefs of the founding era, it may not stand. This new approach turned judges into amateur historians, requiring them to dig through centuries-old statutes, legal treatises, and historical records. They now had to compare today's laws to those from the 1700s and 1800s, searching for historical analogs and precedents. The result? Widespread legal confusion. Courts across the country began reaching wildly different conclusions on nearly identical laws. Some judges struck down long-standing regulations, while others upheld them, all based on their own interpretations of history. Almost overnight, legal challenges erupted nationwide. Laws banning certain types of firearms, setting age limits for gun ownership, and restricting gun rights for people with criminal records all came under fire. The legal landscape became a battleground, with activists and lawyers on both sides scrambling to adapt. Now, the Supreme Court faces mounting pressure to clarify exactly how its new historical test should be applied. Lower courts, lawyers, and lawmakers are all looking to the justices for guidance, hoping for a roadmap through this new and uncertain era. One thing is certain: the next chapter in the fight over the Second Amendment has begun, and its outcome will shape American law and society for years to come. The Second Amendment debate isn't just theory, it plays out in real life. In Massachusetts, David W. Howard was convicted after holding a shotgun in his doorway as a constable served divorce papers. He argued he was on his own property and never threatened anyone. The court disagreed, ruling that displaying a gun in that context could be seen as a threat. The decision, the right to bear arms, doesn't protect intimidating behavior, even at home. This case shows that constitutional rights have limits. The law draws a line when gun rights cross into threatening conduct. The Howard case highlights a core principle: the Second Amendment has boundaries. Even landmark rulings like Heller made clear the right isn't unlimited. Laws barring felons or the mentally ill from owning guns are considered lawful. Courts balance individual rights with public safety, upholding bans in sensitive places like schools and courthouses. Using a gun to create fear isn't protected self-defense, it's aggression. The Supreme Court will continue to define where gun rights end and regulation begins. Real-world cases like Howard's ground the debate in practical reality. The Supreme Court now faces what many legal experts are calling its most consequential Second Amendment term in decades. The eyes of the nation are fixed on the justices as they prepare to address questions that could fundamentally alter the landscape of American gun rights and regulations. Among the pivotal issues before the court: whether states have the constitutional authority to bar young adults, specifically those under 21, from purchasing certain types of firearms. The justices will also weigh if individuals with nonviolent criminal convictions can be permanently disarmed, a question that could affect thousands of Americans and their right to bear arms. To reach their decisions, the court must apply its historical test, rooted in the nation's founding era, to the complex realities of modern society. The outcome will have sweeping implications, potentially reshaping gun laws and enforcement across all 50 states. Perhaps the most closely watched question is whether bans on so-called assault weapons, like the AR-15, will withstand constitutional scrutiny. The answer could determine the future availability of some of the most controversial firearms in America. A single Supreme Court ruling could dramatically reshape the national debate, influencing not only what firearms Americans can legally own, but also how communities, lawmakers, and law enforcement approach gun safety and regulation. As the nation waits, anticipation builds. The court's decisions will soon write the next chapter in the ongoing story of American gun rights, with consequences that will echo for generations. These landmark rulings will define the delicate balance between individual liberty and public safety, setting precedents that will guide courts, legislators, and citizens for years to come. The future of American gun regulation stands on the brink of transformation as the Supreme Court prepares to make history.